We have a couple of guests today, and I want to introduce you to our first guest. This is a long partner. We've had a long partnership, actually, since our very beginning with Herbert Ventures, which is just 15 blocks north up 4th Avenue right here, just right on between Lake Street and 31st Street. That's where we were for our 10th birthday party last Sunday. We're going to be there again, actually, on New Year's Eve morning, making like 5,000 sandwiches or something again. So that's a Saturday morning before New Year's Eve, so we'll have you out there again. We've done lots of stuff there over the years. And a particular friend of ours is Mark-Peter Lundquist, the Director of Outreach. Let's invite Mark-Peter. Have a seat. Hi.
Hi.
Good to have you back.
Good to be here.
It's been a few years since you're here on Sunday morning.
It has.
But it's good. So you've been with Herbert Ventures for quite a while. They started in 1993, is that right?
Yep.
And Herbert Ventures, looked at the Central and the Phillips Central and neighborhood and a little bit of the area around there, and just saw extreme poverty, crime, and so on. It was probably I remember I was here in the cities then, it was probably one of the toughest neighborhoods in the whole Twin Cities, and decided to make a change. The vision, they have this vision of an urban core without poverty, which is so simple and so profound. It's exciting. One of the things that caught my attention with Herbert Ventures before I met you was this idea that if we were going to change the lives of the people in this neighborhood, we needed to change the geography. And that led into your buying property, rehabbing it, and so on, but not gentrifying it, not reselling it, but turning it back to neighborhood businesses, people from the hood, and so on. And that seemed to be really good. But I say that to push us into the next thing. So somewhere along the line, you decided it's not just geography, it's also food. And I know I've heard a little bit of this. You've been on a kind of a journey discovering how food plays in this. Tell us a little bit about that.
I discovered something about myself, that I am a wimp. And
you're in good company.
I hope you don't get this wrong, but I have seen over the years how strong you have to be poor, and I don't have that kind of strength. Like this morning I woke up and I'm out of coffee, so dang it, I have to go to Starbucks. So that's me.
What an inconvenience.
And if you're a single parent with 3 kids and you have to walk 11 blocks to work and you're working a 10-hour shift on your feet at McDonald's, that's a whole different kind of strength that's required. So I've come to see and understand and ask myself, who's really strong? Is it us who have resources, or is it people who really endure? And so food plays a huge part in that, because there's just not enough to go around, in a family. So in our neighborhood, about 45% of the people live at the federal poverty level, which is $26,800 for a family of 4. And, when you put rent in there and you put food and you put transportation and healthcare and daycare and all the other stuff, it just doesn't work, So food stamps today, an average family is about $4 per person per day. So you family of 3, obviously, that's $12 a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. How do you do that? I've come to greatly appreciate Aldi's. Aldi's is a great, great store in the neighborhood, and I never thought about it before until we started this food project. So it's bigger than we realized, and we have a saying that there's more people dying through drive-thrus than drive-bys, and that's really true. It doesn't get noticed. The obesity, the diabetes, heart disease. I met with a bunch of pediatricians a couple months ago at Children's Hospital. They're seeing babies malnourished. They were seeing mothers are feeding their kids water. So you would think, in 1961, John F. Kennedy said that we have this paradox of having poverty in the midst of plenty, and it still is true today. So food is more than just food. It's also about health. It's about how you show up to work. It's about how you pay attention in school. It's about behavioral issues. I mean, if you're not eating, if you're hungry, If you're weak, you just don't perform, you know. So it's a big issue all across the board.
You were telling me like how many meals are being missed in the neighborhood?
Right. So an interesting way of understanding is how do people get their food? About 60% of people who are really hungry, their food comes from their own pocket. About a little less than 20% comes from food stamps. About 10% or less comes from missing meals. And only a little over 5% comes from a food shelf. So that's how the breakdown is. So what we're seeing is a kid will wake up and go, okay, he'll figure out his day or her day. I can get breakfast at school, I get lunch at school, maybe I'll go to an after-school program, a tutoring, mentoring program where I get a snack, then I'll just go to bed early so I don't have to feel hunger. So I can get up again because I know I have breakfast at school. So in the Phillips neighborhood, Hunger Free Minnesota did a study, and they figured about 200,000 meals a year are missed in the Phillips neighborhood. So that means families have to try to figure it out. You know, who's going to miss? What are we going to miss? How do we? So this goes on I don't think, you know, I can think about my job. I can think about my kids. I can think about, I'm not spending the majority of my day wondering how are we going to eat today? And where am I going to get it? Where's going to be my resources? And just thinking that 7 days a week. What about summer? Because summer school lunches are a major food program. So, you know, where does that gap fit in? So there's a constant kind of energy spent around thinking about access and affordability, which is really what describes the food desert. The food desert is where there is very little access. It's over 1 mile to 2 miles that you have to travel, and affordability is paramount.
So Urban Ventures has various programs at Cristo Rey, the high school, and everything. You've been feeding people for a long, long time, but there's a shift a couple of years ago, you know, between, well, giving people, well, one is how much food they really needed. It wasn't just the one meal or whatever, but also what kind of food they were getting.
Right. So what we wanted to do, we feed a lot of people. We have a kids cafe. We serve about 60,000 meals a year, but a lot of our meals were around, you know, just getting people to our programs and stuff, and we never really connected. What's the neighborhood experiencing in terms of hunger and poor nutrition? So we wanted to do something different than have just a place where people came to get food that, you know, maybe lacked dignity, that maybe was embarrassing, maybe the food was dated or it was prepackaged or it was dented or stuff like that. So we decided, hey, why don't we grow our own food and go to people? So let's take the time and grow our own organic food and put it in a refrigerated truck and actually go into neighborhoods where there's food deserts and set up an instant mobile farmer's market and impact the neighborhood that way. So that's what we did. You know, the goal was to get into the hands of people as much food as we could that would impact the health disparities that are going on.
So they've got, on the Midtown Greenway at 5th Avenue, if you ride your bike along Greenway, you'll see the City Kids Cafe is there. You'll see a couple of greenhouses and some gardens there. And you're producing a lot of food. Then you've got acreage down in Lakeville. Yep. that you work, and people learn how to do gardening and so on. Can you find that picture of those lettuces they've got? So inside, this just blew my mind. I went through a little tour of it. And so it's all hydroponic. And that lettuce there, how old do you think that lettuce is? It's 10 days. If I could grow lettuce like that in 10 days, I think I got to try this in my basement. I mean, all I need are lights there.
Yep.
But, I mean, you're doing amazing stuff. How much food are you producing?
We did about 60,000 pounds off of the Lakeville farm and about 20,000 pounds off of the Greenway farm this year. So, yeah, close to 100,000 pounds.
Yeah, and putting it into the hands of single parents, families that are just struggling to make it work. And
Yep, so what we want to do is we want to get organic food into their hands, but we don't want to do a giveaway. We don't want to perpetuate another feeling of entitlement, another entitlement program. So what we do is we give them a Target bag and we say, fill it up with as much as you can cram, and they are very ingenious about filling up the bag because the bag gets higher and higher and kind of goes up their neck, and it's for $5. And 9 times out of 10, people love putting down $5 to do that. They're getting $30, $40 worth of produce. If someone comes to us and say, hey, all I have today is $3, all I have, of course, we're not heartless. We do that. But giving something towards that is really an important component of what we do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really true. So why do you do this, Mark-Peter? Why do you work so hard creating these programs, finding ways to make them work economically? I know, you heard a little bit of our financial woes. I know you guys aren't just rolling in dough either. You're constantly trying to match funds with needs. And why do you do this?
I think that it all started unbeknownst to me as a kid, going to a church, a Methodist church, that really didn't separate church from social justice. It was all kind of the same thing, whether you are on a worship team or you're teaching Sunday school or you're doing a block club leader. It's all kind of the same. And so I think it was just a natural development, that this is faith, this is what you do. And I think for me, I don't glorify low-income people, or I don't glorify, isn't it really, aren't you closer to God being poor? I don't do any of that stuff. But I do believe that what you do to the least of these, you do unto me. And I believe that there is a component in serving the poor that we are actually, in some mysterious way that none of us really know, we're serving Christ.
Yeah, I think that's true. So I know there's lots of projects. We had a bunch of people at Take Us Well who have been involved with different things with Urban Ventures. But I know with the food program, a couple things that are there are, one is you've got a garden plot there. You can put a picture of that up, Micah, that you're hoping to turn over into a community garden space. Mm-hmm. So people who are, what are the needs? What kind of stuff can people do with that?
I think what we want to do for this next year is use food, the growing of food, as our version of Black Lives Matter, put it that way. So how do we address in our way bringing people together that are African American and Somali and Latino and Anglo? And what better way to do that than work together on a farm? So it is to bring families together, give them a plot, and help them with compost and mulch and water and seeds, and help them to get their starters growing, but also being around people that will kind of help coach them and just be there. So it's kind of a ministry of presence. So that's what we're hoping to do this next growing season.
Then you got a trailer too?
We got a really cool trailer. We got a great deal on an old Coca-Cola trailer. And the Urban Institute has told us that kind of an area, a block right now that we need to address are kids between 10 and 17 years old. They're seeing about 7 million kids in America between that age group are going hungry, and it's because they're so worried about their self-image. They don't want to be seen as being hungry, poor, low income, so they don't go to after-school programs, they don't go to feeding programs. So anyway, we want to do this trailer, we want to wrap it, we want to deck it out, we want to make it really cool, and we want to take it to Roosevelt High School and to South High School and offer burritos and wraps and stuff. So it's a cool thing. So it's not a bad thing to look like you're hungry, but this is a cool thing to have. So we want to kind of play up on that. So we're really excited about developing the food truck.
Cool. There's all kinds of stuff for people to do.
Yep.
Well, I want you to stick around with our next guest, but we have a commercial that we're going to enjoy right now.
Thank you.
You bet. Mike.